Welcome to Dental Success Beyond Chairside, the podcast that is dedicated to revolutionising the way dental professionals succeed beyond the dental chair. Join us for a unique blend of insightful interviews with industry experts and valuable tidbits of information to help you thrive in your dental specialist practice. In each 20-minute episode, we'll delve into a variety of topics, including HR, marketing, innovative techniques and systems, and AI, to help you transform your practice and unlock its full potential. Whether you're a dentist, specialist, or oral health therapist looking to enhance your practice, this podcast is your go-to resource for professional, personal, and profitable success. Get ready to go beyond the dental chair and discover what lies ahead in your practice journey with dental success beyond chairside. Welcome to today's episode of Dental Success Beyond Chairside. Let me ask you this. How much time does your team spend each week monitoring, recording, ordering, and following up on supplies? Have you ever calculated the cost of that time, both financially and in terms of lost focus on patient care? Today, I'm joined by Damien Drummond from Steri Stock, a business dedicated to taking the complexity out of stock and sterilisation processes. Damien, thanks so much for joining us here today. To start us off, can you explain how the stock component of Steri Stock helps reduce the time and hassle involved in stock management, and how that streamlined approach supports a more efficient, less stressed dental team?
All right, thanks for having me. We all know that the biggest cost in a dental practice is staff time, staff wages, and we try to minimise the impact of that ordering process. A standard ordering process would be you've done your ordering, you've done your receiving, you've put it away, then somebody's going to take it off the shelf and use it, then the cycle starts again. What we're finding with a lot of practices is if they've either got a whiteboard, somebody's got a spreadsheet, sometimes it's stick-it notes. However the process is, it's quite manual and it's quite time consuming to get from woe to go. The process that we decided to do a long time ago was just to try and make it as efficient as possible, sticking with that KISS principle of making it simple. The simpler it was, the more likely the staff used it. Unfortunately, nobody can program for compliance. So if a staff member wants to walk away and start using something without noting it down, they're going to do it. And we just try to make the process easy so that they do it. For us, the efficiency for a staff member would be, I liken it to an express checkout at a supermarket. They would scan a barcode and walk through without having to do any other interaction. The barcode scanners would be set up as almost like a on-stand mode, which is just it's always on. So you swipe in front of it and it just scans one item out. That way the staff more than likely will be compliant. They're going to take it out of stock. Your count is going to be accurate. And when you go to place your orders, more than likely you can rely on the numbers in the program as opposed to having to manually go and do a spot check or a mini stock take. Other things that we've found a lot of practices do when they go to do ordering. Nobody knows really what needs to be ordered. They've got an idea of the essentials, but they then go and do a stock take, and that's more time.
Absolutely. That is what I see in most practices, Damien, is it's a very labour-intensive process. People don't know what's on back order, what's ordered, how many you've got there. If you count up the amount of time that takes for a person to do it and the expense of doing it, it's really a lot when they can be focusing on things that only humans can do, which is that patient interaction and that patient experience. So you talked about having like a scanner, which is great. You have the barcode. How does it work with regard to the ordering, with the input that's coming in? How can you work us through the process of having that supplies person in, orders coming in, orders going out, how you actually do that rather than just the process of scanning it out of the supply cupboard?
The ordering person. Sometimes that's the dentist, the owner, dedicated person from staff. It varies from practice to practice. But the process for them to do the ordering would be you're selecting the supplier, or they've set up a template with all their essentials. Our system will generate that order. It can be emailed to the supplier, can be exported out, can be printed, whichever way they're doing that. Some people will print it, say, for example, if the rep is standing in front of them and they quickly want to give them an order, they'll do it that way. Most people would email that off to their supplier. Then it goes into the system waiting, understandably. Anybody then can have a look at what's on order. You can do it from a report perspective to see what's on order. You can partially receive an order and then place it on back order. You can put the entire order on back order, and then it's easily identifiable in a back order report that's what's on order, when it was ordered, and so that people can get an idea of how long things have taken to come in, or when it's expecting, if it's something that they're needing, or if it's been on back order for quite some time, then they can try and source that elsewhere and cancel the original order and move on to a different supplier. The process from ordering, they would send that off, and when they receive the items, it's no different to it as it would normally be. They're going to unpack it and put it on the shelf. The only process difference is that they're going to note and make sure that what they should already be doing, what's on the delivery docket or what's on the invoice that's attached, is actually been received. Then they're just going to replicate that in the system. So in the system, they will just do the same process. This has been received. Anything not received is instantly back ordered. If the entire order is received, they're able to then check their totals to make sure that the pricing is all correct. Once it's been received and put away, then it's okay to be used. The process for us for scanning, it's either going to use a barcode we generate, which can be done at the time of receiving, or they're going to use the barcode on the item. Most people don't print barcodes for anything anymore unless they really have to. So we're saving them time and money in that regard. They will use either the item's barcode, or if that for whatever reason either doesn't exist or is too small, and then they're able to print a report if they choose to of half a dozen items, for example, laminate that, stick it to a wall, and they never have to worry about generating a barcode again. Or some people will stick a barcode, they'll do it once, but they'll stick the barcode on the front of the shelf so that they're able to scan that.
Okay, so the items are coming in and you're checking them off, and then you just have to use that barcode. Is it an app, or is it going into a Steri in Stock? What's the actual process for digital?
Putting it into Steri in Stock. So Steri in Stock itself, when you set up a stock item, will have its own Steri in Stock barcode or label. If you choose to want to use the one that's on the item, which is going to save you time and money, then they will just edit that stock item and scan the barcode once so that it records it against that stock item. So then they're locked together.
Yes.
And anytime somebody decides to scan that from the item itself, it's still going to tie back to the stock item and take that stock item out.
Excellent. If you're getting low, do you get a notification that you're getting low on that item, or how does that work, Damien?
When we set it up, we ask you to nominate a low stock value. That's going to be when you start to get nagged to order. I call it a nag prompt because every time somebody takes something out of stock, once it hits that number, it's going to pop up and say it's fallen below. You're trying to sort of avoid the staff saying, well, it wasn't me. I didn't take the last one. I wasn't aware. If we've got the nag prompt and, it's 3 or 4 items, then at least 3 or 4 people have seen the nag prompt to say it needed to be ordered.
Excellent. I love that nag prompt. That's really good. Okay, so they get the nag prompt. Then it automatically generates, now you said an email, or can you explain that process of how this automatic generation to the supplier works, please, Damien?
Yeah. So everything that you have in there, all the stock items are allocated to a specific supplier using their supplier ordering codes. We would just, for example, let's say Adams or Shine or some, Dent Supply, whoever it is, you'd select them and it would show all the items that you would order from them. Then you would just go through and generate how many items you wish to order from that. If something's fallen below or hit that sort of level,
that nag level,
that nag level, it will auto-fill the order up to what you've deemed your maximum levels. If it's gloves, for example, you may want a carton of gloves as your maximum, or 2, depending on the size of the practice. It will auto-fill up to that when it places an order. You can still go in and adjust the quantities to whatever you're liking, but as far as the system is concerned, it will by default automatically generate an order based on all of your maximum levels. If that's all you did, then it would be select supplier, just check your levels and hit send, and it emails off. That's sort of done in minutes.
How about price? Does it not compare prices, but the price that you've got that you usually get, just say gloves, for instance, obviously they went up exponentially during COVID. Then can you see that the price has changed through Steri in stock? Or is that a manual process?
Our system doesn't communicate directly with the suppliers, so you sort of got to still keep your finger on the pulse, I guess, with that regard. Our system will keep the pricing up to date as you receive an item. So when you're receiving it based on the invoice dollar value, it will update your pricing. When we first set it up, we ask everybody to send us through spreadsheets of all their orders from suppliers, and we generate the stock items based on what we get sent. In that is the option for costs. Whatever happens when you first set it up, whether you choose to put a cost in or not, that will be what the system thinks the cost is. And as you receive items is when you update that as you go.
Excellent. So essentially, if they wanted to go with Steri in stock, you direct them to send who their suppliers are, what they actually get from them. You set all of that up. Then how does the onboarding with a practice work, please, Damien?
Once I receive all that information, we just organise an installation. So the installation will proceed generally for the stock system. You'll have one or two systems running the stock system. It can be added to, if you've got the Steri system, for example, all the systems could be upgraded to what's called a full license, which has both modules, or you can sort of do if one or the other. So you can have a mix of, if I've got 5 Steri and I've got 2 stock, the system allows different levels of licensing. Essentially, we make sure the database is populated with the information, and then we just do a training. We will generally train all staff on the basics of how to use it, how to take stuff out, essentially, and if they needed to do any little checks. Then we do the training with the people who are doing the ordering. So there's 2 levels of logins for the system. One level is they can only use items and look at the basics. The other level is they do ordering. Those people need to know how to order, how to return something, how to cancel something, how to receive it, etc. There's reports to go along with that, so anybody can sort of look at those reports to see how you're travelling. Sometimes it could be just, how am I going for my budget this month? Am I under, over, about right? You can look at those running totals. Other reports are your back order reports, your history order reports, those type of things. It makes it a lot easier for somebody to quite quickly look at a spot check and go, we've used this over the last 6 months. We haven't used it the 6 months before. Do we need to alter what we've got in stock? That type of thing. So that there are reports to help with that, so that they can sort of see the trend over the last 12 months of a particular item, or they can see how much they've used of each item each month. Obviously from a cost perspective, they're wanting to know how much they're spending. There's reports for that as well.
Fantastic. That onboarding process, is that virtual? How long does that take for the actual ordering people?
We allow up to an hour for that. Some people will take longer, some people will take less. It just really just depends. Each practice is unique. You either have somebody who's just going to sort of run with it, and they're going to be the sole person, I guess, in charge, and sort of a one-on-one, it sort of travels a bit quicker. If you've got a room full of people, it just takes a little bit longer as we make sure that everybody's following along. It's just the way training happens. We do it remotely. We do a Zoom type meeting, and it just allows us to use their data as opposed to a demonstration using mine. If they can see what they've got and they're using it, their users, it just makes it a lot easier. Once we've done that training, then it's just a matter of them playing around with it. I always let them know that they need to have a transition phase. Not everybody picks it up straight away. Not everybody's compliant as far as using it straight away either. So for the first month, at least, I would say the majority of people are doing regular spot checks to make sure stuff are being taken out, stuff are being used and documented properly.
Excellent. How about ongoing support, Damien?
Just an annual support fee we charge, which gives them updates and support throughout the year. Other than that, there's no other, it's a one-off cost to buy. For those who have the Steri or those who want to generate barcodes using our Steri system, our Steri label system. You can buy the printer and ribbons and labels from us. That would be the only other thing that if you went down that track, you'd be buying. But if you're already on Steri, you're already buying it. It's only really those who only have stock and are wanting one of those printers, then that's the only additional cost. From experience, those that are doing that, they're not using a roll a year. So it's not 1,000 labels. They're not printing that many.
Excellent. And just feedback. What have you had feedback-wise from practices that are using Steri in stock?
Definitely a cost and time saver. One practice I'm aware of, the previous method sometimes took them up to 2 days to go through their stock room and place orders. They used to ring around and then go online, and some of them didn't do ordering online. It's such a manual process. They're now doing their ordering in about 2 hours tops. So that's from their ordering perspective. I got another practice who decided to do what they referred to as a shopping day. And the shopping day for them was just restocking all the treatment rooms. They knew from their perspective that a specific day was treatment room 1, for example. They would fill that up. They would come with their list of what was required, take it all out in one go. So it made compliance a lot easier for them because they weren't sort of ad hoc running in, grabbing something, and then remembering to scan it on the way out. You'll still always have that. There'll be something that you don't have in your room. But for the majority, if it's saving them time doing that, for that particular practice, they were saving like 25% on their stock costs just from sort of managing it that way.
Yeah, excellent. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to share with our listeners today, Damien?
I think we've probably covered the basics. Give us a call, reach out. I'm happy to do a demonstration. It's when you see it, obviously you're going to get a better idea.
Absolutely. No, that's excellent. For more details about Damien, Steri and Stock, please see our show notes that will have all the links to social media, website, communication channels. Thank you so much for joining us again, Damien. It was a pleasure speaking to you and for sharing what Steri and Stock has to offer to dental practices.
Thanks very much.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast or YouTube channel. Your feedback helps us continue delivering valuable content and insights from leaders in the dental industry. In our next episode of Dental Success Beyond Chairside, we're joined by Dr. Rosalind Franklin from Amalgamate Consulting. With over 30 years of experience in dentistry and a deep specialisation in infection control, Ros will be sharing her expert insights on how to simplify and confidently implement infection control protocols in your practice without the overwhelm. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.